and got offered jobs. And as you guys know, in the technology space, they're very well paid, very rewarding works. So we watched other people get really good jobs. Some went to PwC, to software audit, and many other interesting companies. And guys were getting offered $3,000 then. Now I know guys are even getting $9,000 a month in engineering, but it was a lot of money then. And we had to choose whether to take a job, because we're both highly skilled in whatever we do. So if we wanted a job, we could easily get a job, but we had to make the decision to either enter entrepreneurship or take a job. We decided to enter entrepreneurship, and the reality is, I think people see success comes on their hand. You have 99 days of sweating that people will see. So, guys see, this guy's raised $40 million, all that stuff. It looks really fluffy, it looks like you go into entrepreneurship and you make it, but the reality it's been an 11-year journey. And it didn't start 3 years ago when we started Market Force. It started 11 years ago when we decided we're going to go into entrepreneurship, and we've been learning fundraising, we've been learning building product, we've been learning about hiring teams, managing people, building a product or solving a problem that matters. We've been learning a lot of things, and we made a couple of mistakes on the way. So number one, in 2015 when we graduated, the first project we built was a procurement automation system. And what we were trying to do then was digitize the tendering process. How did we know this project? Michael is laughing, I think he probably remembers this. We thought this was a problem worth solving because we applied for a lot of tenders ourselves. So, you start a business and you think, okay, now I understand software. So you see the government or parastatal or private company is looking for a company to implement an ERP system or CRM system or all these things. And because we're running a software consulting business, it meant those are the kind of opportunities we went for. So through the tendering process, you fill a lot of documents. They require you to deliver the documents physically. And sometimes you can stay there as the documents are being opened to evaluate from the financial perspective. Okay, this company has been at 8 million, another one 10 million. So we thought, being the tech guys, this thing should be very simple. Why not have a system where everyone just puts their bid online, you put your documents in your system, everything. Anytime you see a tender you like, you just press apply, all the documents go, because the documents are the same, the company is the same. Wow. So, 2015, we spent 6 months building this product. We didn't talk to any customer. It was obvious, this thing is obvious, this solution is going to work. So we built the system, then 6 months later, we start going out now to look for companies who are going to post their tenders and accept digital tendering process. I mean, it's the most innovative thing, right? So we got 0 customers, and we pitched this thing to probably over 50 companies over, let's say, 3-4 months. And at this time, all the money that we're making, so every month we'll do 2-3 websites on the site, so we make maybe $2,000. I remember at this point we're making $2,000 between us. We're building a system. We hired 2 more engineers, paid them a small salary, and inspired them about the dream. But this innovation is the thing, right? And then we gave them this up. We told them, when this thing makes it, you'll get the rest of your money. You'll get paid later when we cash out, right? So this idea failed terribly. And that's part of the journey of the sacrifices that we needed to make at that point. But we did not give up. So the next idea we tried was in 2016. So we started a company called Cloud9. And again, it's the same thing. We were looking to go on vacation. I think we were tired from hustle of the tender system. So we were going to Diani. And we like ideas. Entrepreneurs are always every day saying, I can do this thing. This thing looks like it can become big, right? So we went to Diani. And then we were looking for experiences to do in Diani. So you go jet skiing, you go on boat ride, all those things. So he said, Africa is really beautiful. I think travel actually is the second biggest contributor to tourism. So why don't these people have these activities on a platform where people look? I'm sure you guys are here the same way. So we said, okay, let's build a platform, a marketplace, where we put all the best African destinations and then make it easy for people to find and book. Whether you're local or international leisure seekers, this is obvious. Everyone wants to do experiences and it should be easy to find and book. And on the other side, these guys also want more revenue. So let's help them get more customers. Hey. Yes. Entrepreneurship. So we started now hunting for suppliers. Same story. We went round. We spent months. At least this time it was more successful. We got a lot of people interested. We listed hundreds of experiences. But the hard part came in terms of bringing on leisure seekers. And this is when we realized or we understood why people raise money and give a percentage of the company, because you can have the best idea, you can have a really good product, but without capital, it's super hard to make it work. And that is when we started raising money. So we looked for money. We talked to the VCs, like all the VCs we could find in Kenya, cold calling, all that stuff. And I think one of the takeaways here is entrepreneurship is about resourcefulness. Like a lot of people reach out to me, how did you raise money? How do I prepare a pitch deck? How do I do XYZ? We live in an information age. So, and like a lot of this information is available online. So you just need to be super proactive about finding what you need. A lot of things you need to know about building a company. So knowledge is available online. What is the hardest part is the actual execution, doing those things, because it's easy to read it. A lot of us get caught up in that, we call it analysis paralysis, where we're analyzing this didn't work, should I do this, should I not? So when you read all these things online, because I know most of you do, what differentiates people who are successful from those who are not are people who actually just execute. You'd rather make a bad decision than make no decision, or just take too much time to make a decision. So make a decision, learn. They say fail fast, fail forward. Just learn, keep on improving, iterating, just like product. You need to do that in your entrepreneurship journey. All these things. Today we keep making mistakes because we don't know everything, but everything you need to know is actually in the doing. Like just do it, make mistakes, learn, do again, and that incremental growth in a couple of years, it's like a snowball effect. Things just pick up and you become better and better and better as an entrepreneur or as an executor in whatever field you're in. I'm sure it works the same way in programming. So anyway, fast forward, Cloud9, we weren't able to raise funds. We pitched at Lions then. We got a commitment for 8 million shillings then. I think it was in 2016 or 2017. Now, a short story on market force, and then I'll take questions from there. Is we got approached through the software consulting business. So Cloud9 was fully self-funded, what we call bootstrapped. So we continued to do projects, and at this time, I told you we started with $2,000 a month worth of business. We got to a point where we were doing $10,000 to $20,000 a month. So the patience helped because we ended up, it took us about 4 to 5 years, but we started earning similar to what our peers were earning. Nothing replaces that process. And some people ask me today, it must be good, you guys are super successful and everything, but the reality is it's a gruesome process. Entrepreneurship is very glamorized, and I think this is a super important thing to say. Like, you need to be in love with the problem you're solving. You need to be passionate about the problem you're solving. Anytime you start a business to make money, you're likely to fail. And I'm saying something very cliche, but this is super, super important because nothing replaces, doesn't matter how much money you make, nothing replaces the effort, time, sleepless nights you spend building a business. So you need to be passionate about the problem you're solving. So a company approached us, and they're a large lending company. They give logbook loans, civil servant loans, they give a lot of loans, and they needed to digitize their sales process. And this is ties to our thesis when we started business. We were thinking, how do we help a lot of the African businesses digitize their processes, move from pen and paper? So if you look at Entrepreneur, Cloud9, Market Force, our theme around that area, and that's really where we found our passion, is how do we help businesses automate and grow. Automate is what we understand, and grow is where we build this impact. When businesses grow, they employ more people, there's better living standards in the continent. So that has really grounded us in our journey. So we got this project, it was paying really well. We deployed the solution, we were paid very well and deployed the solution. Then we realized that how distribution is done in the continent is everyone here has a neighborhood store. If you want to buy some noodles or unga or cooking oil, whatever it is, you're likely not to get a neighborhood in the supermarket. You just walk to your neighborhood store, buy whatever you need. And that was kind of the aha moment. These guys were distributing loans, but they were using sales agents to do that. So we learned that all these companies that sell consumer brands, FM, they're called fast-moving consumer brands. So anything you buy in a shop, they have sales agents who go to the shop and sell. I'm sure if you wake up at 6 or 6:30 a.m., you'll find a kiosk with a truck, guys offloading stuff. Most times those are sales agents who are delivering product. So that's how Market Force was born. We thought we can digitize all this sales agent, sales process in the continent. So today, fast forward, we have about 200,000 merchants actively using our platform, and they use our app to order for their goods, and then we deliver to them within 24 hours. We are operational in 5 markets, so in East and West Africa, so Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Nigeria, and we are planning to launch more markets. We've raised a bunch of funding, a lot of lessons around that, but I really want to answer specific questions because I feel if I go deep, might not be addressing your true needs. So last thing, 4 things that came to mind when I was coming here is, one is we need to remember that ideas are almost worthless. I'm choosing my words wisely. 99% of what matters is the execution. Ideas are just 1%. This is super important because we have ideas all the time. Second is, as you think about execution, think about executing on problems that matter. There is a lot of solutions you can build to make money or to be successful, but solving a problem that matters means customers, you're making, why do you keep saying this, you make something people want. That means you're building a product that your customer would suffer if they don't have. That is that you can solve problems that matter, but they're not scalable. And the reason this is important is because scale creates impact. If you build a business that today we employ about 600 people, and the impact is as a result of scale. If you can be solving a problem that matters, you have 5 customers, but you're doing it as yourself. If you build a scalable product, it means you're touching, so today, for example, we have 200,000 customers and we employ 400 people. And that's because we build a product that's scalable, right? Fourth is product problems, and problems are solved by people. So it's very important to surround yourself with people who align to your vision, your values, and people will solve the problems, people will build the product. So entrepreneurship is really about sharing and giving. You are likely to make more impact when you're willing to get a co-founder, for example. Don't try and build alone, because you share the challenges, you share the successes, but more importantly, you're more highly likely to be successful if you're working with someone, because entrepreneurship is rough. There are days when one of you feels like giving up, and then it takes the other person to say, look, man, we remember why we started this. Let's push. So just having people who are very aligned to your vision is important. Second thing around that is the fact that you can't do everything, so be willing to share your business with investors, share your business with other people, employees, and that's why ESOP. So when you start out, incentivize people to join your team through giving them a stake in your business, and when there's that shared interest, shared ownership, and I'm saying this, but do it wisely. There's a lot of materials around, how do we distribute ESOP? How do you raise funding? Again, don't take 2 million shillings for 50% of your business, but at the right valuation, take on capital, use that capital to employ the right people to scale your business. So I think those are top 4 kind of lessons or key points I've learned over the journey. Happy to take questions.
Yes, so I'll start with, I'll try to be brief. So, kind of try to do some of things you did. In second year, I tried to do itinerary platform. And then
8 years of training.
Just leave it. Yeah. You can't work here. And at that time, you couldn't work the way you were doing it. Then moved on. That was in 2018. Then 2019, tried to build some e-commerce platform. We built that till almost 2020, and we thought it was a good time because of COVID. And then every other supermarket or retailer went online with a similar product, so we had nowhere to go. Tried to apply to IC, didn't work. And then, okay, towards the end of that, like 2020 there, my co-founder was like, you know what, I'm just going to make my CV and send that. I'm still very reluctant. Remember I'm employed like since then up to today, like I'm still perplexed, like I don't know what to do. Don't know whether I should polish my CV, look for a job, work on these things that I'm doing, or try to freelance as I try to build these, because of course fundraising still is quite a talent around. So I don't know what's your view, and I don't know if I think that people in that scenario, you don't know whether to give up or continue pushing. What's your view?
I think that's a question I was most afraid of. Because you don't want to be the person who goes and tells people, guys, entrepreneurship is the way to go and everything, and then 5 years later, guys say, was it actually to chase? You know, so that question is hard. It's a hard question because it takes a lot of things to be successful. You can be a very smart person, you can have a very good idea, you can be the right environment to build that idea. And for example, what you say with e-commerce, I think there's a big opportunity in B2C commerce, and there's a big opportunity in tendering, there's a big opportunity in tourism. So there's a very thin line between the people who make it and not, and I'm sure you've seen this statistic, around 90% of businesses failing, and the reason for businesses failing. So let me just go back to what I mentioned earlier. One is passion for the problem. If you wake up 3 years from today, you've been trying to build something for 3 years continuously. You didn't take a job, you didn't, or you've been hustling, as you call it, perpetual hustler. Every day you wake up, do the same thing, iterate, try and improve, try to raise funds, do all those things, do your best, and it's not working. What do you feel 3 years later? Obviously there's disappointment, but are you proud of yourself for trying? And are you proud of yourself for following your passion and following your dream? I think that's a super important. That ties back to solving a problem that matters. Because if you do entrepreneurship as a way to look for freedom, for example, entrepreneurship doesn't give you freedom. Entrepreneurship will certainly not make you money. You're sure to get money from a job than from entrepreneurship, because you're likely to fail in entrepreneurship. Like, there's a higher chance to fail in entrepreneurship, right? But if you make it, and even the 10% of people who succeed end up becoming self-employed. You build a company, maybe employ 5-10 people, you end up earning the same thing you'll be earning in a job, and probably spending more time than the people who's working, thinking about your business and thinking about survival of your business. So entrepreneurship is not a solution to, it's not a get-rich-quick scheme.
It's not even a try.
Entrepreneurship is about problem solving. So I think that's what I'd answer. In short, there's no answer to the question. It all depends on you and what you're building. No one will ever give you that answer. It's when you wake up in the morning, do it and make the decision. Do I want to, I've sweated enough, let me take 1 year, do a job, but I'm really passionate about this idea. If you are really passionate about that idea, you'll go back and execute. You'll turn that idea into something, whether it works or not. The probability of it not working is less than working, but if it works, it actually makes a real impact in the world. So that's what I'd say.
Good afternoon, guys. Tesh, thanks for dropping gems as always.
Brian Sinu, just a fellow friend and affiliate of Arabians, and we're currently building Funnel that is here in Kenya and Rwanda. So if any of you guys are machine learning and data science experts, we're hiring. But anyway, my question to you, Tesh. Fundamentally is to touch on your product market fit aspect, your journey there. Just shed more light. I've read an article you had a initially paying customer who paid around 40,000 to get you guys there pre-product. So from moving from the aha moment to where you actually have a paying customer, was there research involved? How did that go about? And then secondly, please touch on your ops. You mentioned you have about 600 employees. Like how much of that is tech heavy? How much of that is, you know, day-to-day deliveries and so on. So yeah, I think I'll cover those two.
Yeah, okay. I'll start with the product market fit. So what we did, we stumbled on the opportunity in retail distribution. We realized, okay, this is a massive industry. 90% of anything consumed on the continent happens through, is bought through neighborhood stores. So opportunity was massive. We faced the same challenges you talked about of, you know, you go into an industry, you have massive competitors. We got a lot of no's from investors because everyone was like, how are you going to fight the incumbents, right? So that was a process of continuous execution just to show and building traction month on month to show that given more resources, we could actually execute on this vision. But our journey to when we felt we had product market fit, or rather the process to finding product market fit was that of a lot of experimentation, so piloting. And what we learned is you need to optimize for speaking to customers more. So one of my friends and kind of mentees is here, is called Chapter Mark. The first advice I'm sure he remembers I told him is, before like focusing on building the product, talk to as many customers as possible. I talked about the failure. We started building a product because you're a product guy, you're a tech guy. So your comfort zone is waking up, going to your laptop and coding. So you think about an idea and immediately you think, okay, let me just, start building this product and have something to show, and you start showing your friends. But your default mode as an entrepreneur, and anytime you think about that idea, you should be thinking about, can I talk to potential customers of this before even building a product? And understand, how are they solving the problem you're trying to solve for them? And would they be interested? And don't sample this. This is another big mistake people make. We try and find validation for our ideas through our friends, through our parents. Hey mom, I have this idea for building XYZ. That's the worst mistake you can make. Unless your mom is an expert in that field. Don't talk to your mom. Your mom loves you, they'll tell you, oh my son, that's brilliant. And you go and start building it, right? So your default mode should be go talk to the customers, find out if they would pay for your product. Try and talk to many customers. You might also have talked to a customer who's a good person, who doesn't want to break your heart. So try and talk to as many people as possible. Talk to 30 people. It's unlikely that 30 people will be good guys and will tell you your idea is brilliant, even if it's not. At least there you have a good understanding. Then you get a good understanding of, will this product I have in mind fit in the market? I think that's a good starting point on product market fit. And then you build, if you find the results are good, build the product, ship it to those customers, give them the product to use for free, charge them, whatever it is. If they're using the product, they're using it repeatedly, and you can scale that product, then I think that's what product market fit kind of looks like. In terms of operations, I mentioned about team earlier. We should, the reason I like having a co-founder, or I highly encourage you to have a co-founder, is because any business has 6 to 10 functions that are very important. So you need sales, you need technology, engineering, for the case of a tech startup. You need operations, you need finance, you need HR, you need customer support, and you can't do all these things alone. So YC, for example, on less than 5% of people who get into YC are solo founders, and that's because YC is working on sales, marketing, and hiring, for example. You are more likely to succeed. So you split the weight. Everyone handles what they're better skilled in, and that's where it starts. And as you grow, then you start bringing people to help you guys with each key function. So today, 600 people is, so you have over 200, what do you call them? Let me call them back office. So our engineering team today is about 60 people. We have, things like finance, where you have like 40, not 40, maybe 15 people. You have HR, I think we have like 5 people now. Bulk of the people I would recommend you should have in sales. So majority of the people are sales agents. They go recruit merchants. That's how we got into all those merchants. And then the other majority is fulfillment. So customer-facing teams. Like if you look at a pyramid, at least at Market Force, we invert that pyramid. So you have senior leadership, the smallest piece of the business in terms of people, and then at the top you have the customer-facing people, and the majority of the people who sell and fulfill orders. So that's another mistake people make. You hire, so because you're a product guy, you hire all your friends or engineers to build the product, and there's no one selling it. Yeah, so that's a mistake you should avoid. But yeah, that's how our team looks like. Somebody. Yeah. You and then Green.
Hi.
How can you tell us when?
Hello, Tesh. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ian. Thank you so much for the gems that you have dropped. I've got 2 questions. The first one is, how do you convince people to join you early on when you don't really have the capital to pay them? As you said, you had like two guys who you sold them the dream. Maybe the second question, how do you come up with the valuation for the business when you're raising capital? Maybe in case of pre-seed, where you don't really have any solid traction to prove that is actually this value. Thank you.
Yeah, so something important I did. If I was to add a 5th point to things I've learned, I'd say storytelling. You don't need to be charismatic, but you need to be able to share your story and share why what you're building is important. And this is important for hiring people. It's important for even finding a co-founder, because you have to make that call to somebody and tell him, I have this idea, and they need to buy it and be willing to sacrifice, getting a job, for example, to join you on the vision. So as you think about a solution, think about how you tell a story about why you're building what you're building and why it's important for the world. So that also helps with the fundraising journey and hiring talent. So an example today is, hiring engineers is hard, hiring senior talent is hard, and that's because they have a lot of options. And the reason they choose who they work with is because of brand and story. Right? They want to be associated with something bigger than just a job. So that's where storytelling comes in. In terms of valuation, it's a hard one because a lot of people do a thumb suck. And so how we did it, maybe I can share our experience, because so we researched on how much equity you should give at every stage of your company, at least the maximum. So at seed stage, it's a maximum of 25% for your first round, maximum. But ideally, you should give way less, 10 to 15%. And then you look at how much money do you need to get to the next critical milestone that you can prove the traction to get more capital in. So an example is I'm building, how can I prove that this model for delivering inventory to merchants and giving merchants a software to manage their stores works? I need to have at least 100 merchants. So what will it take me to have 100 merchants? Maybe I need 10 sales agents. I need 2 people in operations. I need, whatever team needs you need. I need 3 people, 1 front end, 1 back end. Do that in an Excel, find a number. So I need $300,000 over 12 months. It will get me to my first 1,000 customers. And with 1,000 customers, I can prove to the next stage of investor that I have product market fit, I know how to build a team, I know how to build a product, and I can scale. How much equity am I willing to give up? For example, 20%. So I'll raise $300,000 and I'll give 20% of my company. So it's a logical way to think about it, and it's acceptable. So if somebody asks you why you valued at $2 million, it's because I need $200,000 and I can give out 10% of the company, for example. That worked for us. Sorry, we'll come to you.
So
let's try again. Yeah.
Okay, I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan. So how do you manage to get fund as a Kenya for your startup without a foreign orientation?
Mtu wao.
So how
Speak like one, eh?
Yes, I'm taking my time because my thoughts could be shared in forums. But I think proving, first, trust yourself. That's one thing we need to do as Africans. Like, we're not. You have a very large, market opportunity. A lot of industries. We have a very large population of youth, people who are looking for jobs, smart people. We have talent. Like, we have everything it takes to build a global business. That's number one. So you need to trust that, and you need to trust yourself. I think that's the most important part. And people have come to me asking the same question over and over. I think, and thinking, reflecting on it, I think we have absorbed a lot of what has happened in the past and kind of taken that as our reality. But I think we should think about, and we have role models in the industry who've been able to do it without getting foreign founders. So times have changed. I think just trust yourself and go for it. The reason if you're gonna find if you find a foreign founder, coincidentally, it's okay. I'm not saying foreign founders are bad, but don't put a foreign founder on your cap table with thinking that that's what's going to help you raise funds. It's not.
You talked about your growth and journey. So I want to hear your experience around the policies in different countries in terms of the regulations that they have for different businesses? Because I know Kenya is governed differently, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda maybe. So what's different between Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda that may have challenged you in your journey towards growth? And then the second question is, in your fundraising journey, what is that one thing that you may want to advise us that maybe you took a different direction or a different choice that you would have taken differently looking back? Yeah.
So the first one, I will talk about details of what differentiates the countries. I think a lot of that information is available on the internet, but what's important to note as a challenge for any African founder is the fragmentation of the continent. So it's important to plot it up because we need to be aware that Fintech regulations, for example, in Tanzania or Ethiopia are different from Kenya and Nigeria. One of the things I can tell as a differentiator is in our product, majority of our payments collected in Kenya are through M-Pesa, in Nigeria are through bank transfer. Right, they are interbank works pretty well. So it's more like thinking around how do you build localized teams in these markets, and that helps you understand those things deeper, understand the culture and the context of the problem you're solving. So there are things we deploy in Kenya, and when we talk to our country manager in Nigeria, the first thing they say is, Tesh does not work here, and they actually have evidence of why it will not work. So the key part about building for African teams is don't send Kenyans because you built a successful business in Kenya to build your business in Ghana. It won't work. You can transfer knowledge, you can transfer processes, experiences, but optimize for getting local to understand the market. On fundraising, say one of the biggest choices we made was a lot of companies would go for a global investor or optimize to get global investors. And this is because they have deeper pockets, so they can continually fund you, right? But one of the things we did very deliberately is African investors. And the reason we did that is, one, we wanted people who understand the context. So you realize a lot, like anytime you're pitching to a global investor, and many times you're pitching to a local investor, it's like you're sharing knowledge most times. They already understand kind of why what you're building matters. You're not trying to educate them on the market. And then second, and most important for us, was creating a situation where when market first becomes successful, that money remains on the continent. This is something I keep saying a lot. So our Series A was led by an African investor, a Nigerian VC firm, and we had options to take global funds, but we took the Nigerian investor, not because they were giving us anything more better in terms of terms, but because when we exit, we wanted to optimize for a lot of that cash to stay in the continent.
Hello, Martin. As he said before, I'm also a huge fan. Okay, so my question is this. I'm currently building something with two friends, like we are co-founders. Personally, I'm from Uganda, but what we are building is, we decided to have Nairobi as our primary market. Currently, we are in that phase where we are actually pushing out our product, talking to a few people and trying to assess, the potential. Of course, there are several things that we missed out, like the fact that we are supposed maybe to talk to people before we evolve to the MVP. but that ship has already sailed. Yes. But then, okay, so now, my question is this. Right now, yes, we are building, and we have gathered for some costs and, a bit of expenses, but let's face it, we don't have cash, that's a fact. Sooner or later, we are going to run out. So, my question is, at our stage, what do you recommend? Like, what is that level where we can actually, like, when is it okay for us to actually start looking into funding? Because I've read somewhere that the worst thing that maybe a startup founder can do is to wait for cash to run out, and then you start going out to look for funding, because then they are going to give you terrible deals, and then you will just take it. Now, we maybe the cash we have. Okay, this cash is not a lot, by the way. I say cash. This cash is not a lot. It can just pay for a bit of, take credits and all that. But it's going to run out. So when is it okay for us to actually go out and be like, you know what, maybe we haven't improved product market fit yet. Maybe we don't have very many users. But then look at this, look at the potential. Like, when is it okay for us to actually go out and try to pitch to potential founders and stuff?
I like that you've asked the question and said the solution at the same time. You've given yourself the answer. So as you read, what you read was correct. Don't wait for cash to run out. So you should start now. Pre-seed is called pre-seed for a reason. Seeding is, you're planting a seed. So that's what you're doing today. So that means you're ready to raise funds. Especially given the fact that you've started building a product. And seed funding is meant to help you get to product market fit. So you can go and raise funds. Yeah.
Oh, let me now ask the question. Hi everyone, my name is Ben Sonnen. I'm not a techie guy, but I'm an entrepreneur. I already have a product that's in the market. I've been about, that's about 20,000 USD. Currently,
monthly.
Sorry?
Monthly.
That should be like in a year.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's about 20 million or so. It should be already in the market.
Yeah, 20 million annually.
Yes.
Okay. So that's over 20,000 annually.
Yes, sorry. So the question is, at our stage, should we go for seed funding? Secondly, how do we connect with guys? Like you said, I'm also interested in local investors. How do we find local investors? Because our product is scalable. It's already in the market, it's already working, and money is coming in. So, but we now to go to the next level. So, how would you guide us to go to the next level?
Yeah, great. Congratulations on that progress. Yeah, so if you want to scale, if you think the product is scalable, yes, I definitely advise you to raise capital, as long as you understand, where you're putting that capital to grow. And I mean that I think where you've gotten is a point where you probably understand what's your cost of acquiring a customer, what's the lifetime value of a customer, and all that stuff. In terms of how you access funding, fundraising is like sales. It's actually sales. It's not like sales. It's just that you're selling your company's shares instead of selling a product to customers, right? So the same process. You create a list, go online, research, or talk to people who raise money, but mostly research. Be resourceful. Look at the people who raise money, who invest in your geography. By geography, in this case, I mean in Africa or in Kenya, in your sector, and at your stage. So, for example, at pre-seed, don't go talk to Dragonia, who invests in Series B, Series C. So, have that list, and then you call it just the way you do sales. Through your network, ask people, do you know these guys? Reach out cold. Some of them have places on their website for you to upload your deck. A good way that worked for us was incubators. So the likes of C4D Lab, YC, Google for startups. I saw they just launched something, the second cohort of the fund, right? So those are good avenues because it's part of building the network. So besides building knowledge, a lot of them have modules on fundraising, and part of that is they introduce you to, they've already found the investors for your stage and will introduce you. So yeah, and then as you continue talking, you might start with a list of 100, you might end up talking to 50, then you might end up having 5 invest. Typically that's how it happens. 5%, if your business is good, 5% or less of the people you talk to will invest. So that's another thing. Don't be discouraged when you jump on those calls with investors. You're super excited that you've gotten a call. That's just the first step. It's a very long process. So don't be discouraged when you get the no's. In our seed round, we talked to over 100 investors. We only got 5 in, and it took us 11 months to raise. So that's part of the resilience I was talking about. The first lady. Thank you.
My name is Agnes. My question is, we've seen stories in tech like Mbaabu, Flutterwave. When you have grown like where that the $200 million is, at what point do you choose the path to put in structures or expand? Because I've seen, not I've seen, but I've observed or read or seen also. Some startups have very bad work culture, and you hear that's where your Flutterwaves kind of start. How do you balance the human and structure part with growing and expansion? You want to grow and move very fast, but at what point do you start to think about the structures and human part of the business?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So at every stage of the business, there's something you need to think about from a structuring perspective. So for example, you mentioned, should I go out and raise funds? If his finances, accounts are structured well, then he's more likely to move faster in the fundraising process. It's recommended that when you get to 20 people, you need to hire a full-time HR, for example, because the founder at that point cannot continue to manage people compensation, benefits, culture, as you call it. Now they're called people and culture, head of people and culture, not head of HR, because culture, as you mentioned, is super important. So I'd say specifically on the culture bit, the recommended number of people is 20. But for fundraising, the earlier you start structuring your business or documenting stuff in your business, the better. So if you're when immediately you decide, okay, we are 2 co-founders, we're going to work on this thing, you shouldn't, and you see the thing is starting to take off, you need to have a founders agreement, for example, and that should help you in case 1 year down the line, one co-founder decides, I've got an offer from Google, I'm going to start a job. You want to continue running the business, you agree that you're going to split the company maybe 50-50, but you didn't have a founders agreement. And a founders agreement is a legal document where you say that we're giving ourselves 50% equity each, but this equity will last over 4 years. If one co-founder leaves after 1 year, they get 25% of that 50% outright. Should be on paper. Otherwise, those are some of the reasons companies fail. Because 1 year down the line, you're facing traction, but one guy wants to leave, or one guy is, he's misbehaving, for example. And then you're in a situation where you can't raise funds because investors will come in and ask, okay, so 50% of the business is with this co-founder, where is he? He's working for Google, okay. your business is not just because you don't have structure, right? So you need to think at every stage, think about what you need to do to ensure you have the right structure to grow. And to set up yourself for just to avoid issues in the future. And a lot of these issues actually come because we don't have things documented. And that includes HR. When you tell, besides the co-founder, you tell somebody, and this question came around how you incentivize people to join your team. You tell them, I'll give you ESOP, I'll give you 2% of the company. You don't document it somewhere. This guy, 6 months down the line, he wants to leave, and he's asking you, pay me money because I've worked for 6 months and I'm not interested in ESOP. Where do you get the money? If you had an agreement signed, then it helps resolve such issues.
Hey everyone. My name is Mark from a company called Chapter, and I have a question for Tesh. So, just curious on a day-to-day. So, as CEO, if you can tell us what you do on Monday, maybe like a year ago, versus what you do on Monday now. Just to know like what your day is like and the different problems you're tackling, because different stages of the company a year ago versus now. Yeah.
Great. So maybe I can say 2 years from now. I think there's to show the difference. 2 years from now, I was CEO, but I was selling. I was in sales. So I'd wake up on Monday and call clients to push the business. So I spent maybe 60% of my time in sales. I spent another 20% in people, managing people, people product, and then another 20% fundraising. Today, I spend 60% of my time managing people. So going to a point where we have what we call a senior leadership team. So the chief people, chief operating, we have like 5 chief CFO, and then we have country directors. So I spend most of my time not really managing people, but talking to people and helping them execute on the vision. And then I spend 20% talking to customers. So I try and keep my ears on the ground to understand and continue innovating, because at the end of the day, you can't delegate vision. So customers is very important, and then I still spend like 20% of my time fundraising. So I think what's super important, because not everyone is Tesh, not everyone is a salesperson, not everyone is a product person, you know your strength. Is as co-founders, you agree, you know each other, and don't get a co-founder who's similar to you. If you're both salespeople, you're not likely to work out as co-founders. So find somebody who's strong in product, or find somebody who's strong in operations or finance. Like find somebody who complements you, and that way you can run the business better. But more importantly, as a CEO, you need to focus your energy on where you bring most value to the company. If you're very, very good at product innovation, so talking to customers and translating their requirements to a solution, then spend 60% of your time doing that. If you're very good selling, spend 60% of your time selling, at least for an early stage company. That's how you build value in the business.
My name is Douglas Kadai. First of all, I'm a big fan. And then I have a few questions. One, what is your tech stack? Secondly, at what point do you think that you should put more effort on profit making as compared to scalability? At what point do you focus on the business to make profit? My third question is, if you have to start again with no network, with no money, how would you do it? Thank you.
Great questions. So TeshTeq, I can mention very high level because my co-founder focuses on product. That's what he's strong at. I know you use micro services as a strategy, first of all, for product. So now we're able to build in different kind of languages, Angular, Python. What else do I hear? It's not my thing, but yeah, so I think that's the important part. Like, we actually work with microservices, and that has enabled us to get a wider pool of talent. But core stack is Python. Yeah, and then front end is Angular. Then what else? What else is the second question? Profitability, yes. So I think you need to think about pricing and margins from as early on as possible. Tend to see models like Facebook or Twitter don't work in Africa yet, unless you build the first one, where you just raise money and you say you will figure out revenue when you get users. I haven't seen that work. So think about where you're making money as early as possible, and then have a good balance between growth. Investors invest in growth, and they invest in consistency, and they invest in teams. That's the main part. So it's important also, as you think about margins, if you're not selling how big this vision can get, and big is tied to growth, then you'll face a hard time. The last question was, I'm getting tired, sorry guys, so I think I'll take 2 more questions. My brain is freezing. The last one was?
How would you start if you had no money and no network?
Yeah, no money, no network. Yeah, so I think most people start with no money. So that's why I think the no money part is figure out how to survive the initial years of your startup about survival. So if it means getting a 9-to-5 job, and then you work on your startup from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. So you have a 9-to-5 and 5 to 9. That's recommended until you get to a point where you have either enough savings or to focus on your startup, or enough revenue coming in. No money. I think that's the biggest challenge any startup faces. If you're able to, so think about the Olympics. So for example, if you think about the 100-meter race, there are only 10 people who make it to the starting line of the Olympics every year, right? It's the most watched race in the world. But I am sure very many people in the world can run, not very many, but not 10 people in the world can run 100 meters in 9 seconds. But that's what differentiates people who get to the Olympics from people who don't. It's figuring out what you're asking. So the real answer is I don't know the answer. But there's ways that what I've recommended, like working or bootstrapping. Us guys, for example, we build websites. I know Airbnb guys sold, they sold what are those things called? Cereals to fund their business, right? So
my name is Timothy. First of all, you've gone a long time.
Yeah, good to see you.
Yeah, so first of all, congrats for how far you've come, and I also admire the fact that you brand yourself as Pan-African, such that you don't want your revenue to leave Africa. My question is, I'm new to this place, the IT space. I've been here for a long time. I'm from the insurance industry. And the first thing I've noted coming into IT is that the IT is going far. In every sector of the economy, think about everyone needs IT now. So the big challenge for people who are creating products is going into those use places. And for me, for example, to create a product for people in the hotel industry, I need to understand everything about the hotel industry. Not necessarily everything, but for me to create a comprehensive product for them, I need to know how they operate, and then in other industries, go get another client in another industry, get clients all over. And so it's very intensive in terms of research, in terms of getting to know the people, the industry, and it's going to cost you time, cost you resources, cost you energy. So how would I go about wanting to learn about my potential clients, clients in industries that I know nothing about, but I want to learn the industry, and how can I minimize on the resources, the time and the energy, so that I can be more effective, cost effective?
Yeah, so two things come to mind. One is you probably need to find a partner or an advisor or an initial employee who comes from that industry that you're solving for. Case in point, we've really optimized in our company today to hire people from the FMCG industry. Our CCO, for example, came from EABL, Diageo. She's worked in that space for a while. Our chief people also has been in the FMCG space. So just getting people who understand the industry better, it really saves you as a founder who's solving for a space but you don't have experience in a lot of time. And then the second thing is you need to spend a lot of the reflection time you have reading, researching about that industry. And then I think another thing that I'm thinking about now is I've seen a lot of founders who start off in an industry or go into an industry where they have not come from, being the best at innovating in that space. And that's because they come with a very different mindset. They flip models upside down and you find very innovative and scalable solutions being born. I think this is a case you've seen in Uber, Airbnb, Netflix, Richard Branson with airlines. Like when entrepreneurs want to solve, like Elon Musk, what he's doing with space, it's taken NASA and all this, PhDs trying to take a rocket to the moon and back. Like it's taken them so long, but this guy came in, he was just interested in the space and he thought differently. And he's been able to make a very big impact in the space. So that shouldn't discourage you. Yeah.
Pass the mic back.
I'm sorry.
I'm just killing the fish of using English all the time. So, my name is Dennis Kino. I'm also an entrepreneur. So, there's something that you talked about from coming from pen, trying to transition from pen to paper. So we have this Fintech idea that we have, it's an app. So it's called Mesozi. So we've been trying to generate revenue with it. And, considering the Kenyan market, most people like downloading things for free. So how would you advise us as Mesozi to move our customers to want to buy the subscription, because you are giving a lot and you are getting nothing. So basically what Mesozi does, it scrapes data from your M-Pesa transactions and comes up with an automated way of trying to, an analytical format of showing where you're spending a lot, you're buying a lot and buying goods and services, you are sending a lot to people, things like that. And it also has secure backups, so you can access all your financial history from any device. So I want you to talk about that and also about the space of Fintech in East Africa.
Yeah, so I think understanding where you're playing the Fintech, so just talking a bit about Fintech, I think about Fintech as 3 layers that this has formed over time. One is a payment infrastructure, so a lot of us, that was what M-Pesa has built, Cellulant has built. Then there's another layer where this infrastructure is being used to offer, important services like e-citizen or branch, or Mshwari, all these services that came because the infrastructure was late. And then the third is, and I think that's where you're trying to innovate, the second layer. And then the third layer is where you have platforms like MarketForce, which are using embedded Fintech, where you take things that have been built on the second layer and extend them to your services, to your customers through APIs, whatever, as an additional touch points for revenue. So I think being very clear about where you lie as a fintech, that is super important, because it makes you really understand your world. It sounds like you're building something that requires mass adoption for you to make revenue. Like literally you need probably hundreds of thousands of customers to be, or tens of thousands to be sustainable as a business. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, so then it's a hard question, because it's hard to answer how you can find product market fit, because it's unique to every business. You need to figure out how you distribute your product, because product market fit means, okay, one customer likes it, two customers like it, how do I get it to 100 customers, how do I get it to 1,000 customers? So that move from product market fit to wide scale distribution, only that's what you should be thinking about every day. Like as a founder, that's what success will mean for you. So I would need to dig really deep into your business to try and solve that problem. It will probably take months for me, because of what he mentioned about industry expertise, the problem you're solving, what external factors that will take to be successful. So I think what you need is patience. Like, just continue drilling into that problem of distribution, try different things, and they say what you don't, what do they say? You can't improve what you don't measure, right? So if you try a distribution tactic, it costs you $1,000, you get 1,000 customers. You try another one, it costs you $1,000, you get one customer. Then that A/B testing around distribution channels is something I'd recommend to any founder. So, because sometimes you also think you found product market fit and there's a better way to distribute. So maybe you're getting 50 customers a day, you think, wow, I've really done a good job. And you could be missing out on something that could get you 500 customers a day. So constant innovation also around how you distribute your product is super important.
Thank you. So first of all, thanks and congratulations for MarketForce for what you guys have achieved. I think I actually used Cloud 9 back in the day. I just clicked around. One thing I can say is it was way ahead of its time. Actually, thought it was from Eastern Europe or somewhere. It's really you actually put an end to it. So my question is with relation to doing business in Africa, especially a tech business. I'm sure you've worked not just in Kenya, you're trying to get into Nigeria, and I hear Nigeria is a really tricky market. Would you like just give an overview about what is it like to do business in Africa? I'm sure many people actually always have ideas based on what Facebook, Amazon is, and we don't really try and think about what the situation is in Africa. For instance, people don't have smartphones, we have like USSDs and all that. So in terms of outlook, I just want like a general picture, if you could, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I think general outlook is the opportunity to create businesses in Africa is really big, because there are a lot of problems to solve. So that's number one. Number 2 is markets are fragmented. Some of these things I've already said. So what works in Kenya is not necessarily work in Nigeria. Number 3 is there's a lot of I've lost my train of thought on that one. There's significant opportunity because of the pace of growth in talent population and smartphone penetration as well. So not smartphone only, but also internet penetration. So I think timing is really good if you're looking to establish business. He mentioned tech being applicable in all industries. So I think that's also a really good opportunity. So whatever industry you're coming from, there's an opportunity to automate something or to build a business across various sectors. I think that's what I can say about the state of the continent and the opportunities through entrepreneurship. Last question.
Thank you.
So there was one there. Please pass the mic. Pass the mic there, please.
Hi, I'm Chris. So hypothetically speaking, I'm an investor worth, let's say, $30 billion, and you have like 1 minute to pitch your idea to me. What will you say?
Okay, so you'd like to hear my elevator pitch? Yeah, so in Africa, 90% of consumer purchasing happens through corner shops. Market Force enables these corner shops to optimize how they access essential goods and services, and by extension, they're able to serve their communities better. We do this by giving them an app where they can order majority of the products they need and get them delivered to their shop within 24 hours. And based on their transaction patterns, we're able to extend working credit, which is important because they never had access to working capital or credit scores before. We also enable these people to earn extra incomes by acting as distribution agents for popular digital financial services.
Good, you can share a country.
That's our pitch. That's what we used to raise the last round. So it's pretty simple, but.
Clement, I was wondering, since there seems to be many entrepreneurs in the room, is there any challenge that you face as a company that you'd like to see another startup solve for you guys?
Yes, a lot. This guy just looked in a question. It's very smart. That was the last one. So I'd say we operate in an environment where, like ERPs, for example, is not something a lot of new age companies use. Right? You use a different software for HR. We use a software for logistics. We have software for, even under HR, for example, we have performance appraisal, or care management as one tool. We have payroll processing as another software. In finance, we use an accounting software, but we also use like a separate reconciliation software. So basically what I'm saying is, because of this microservices thing, people really specializing, there's so many opportunities, not only to serve Market Force, but also to serve many other startups, not only in Africa. So you can think about that. Also, maybe from a distribution perspective, we're building a super app for the merchant. So enable them to order for stock, access loans, sell financial services, and all these things we don't build from zero. We integrate with partners who have those services. So, and some of the startups I can mention is, like Pesesha, we work with them on lending. We work with Lami on insurance distribution. We work with Cellulant on this pay bill services distribution, we work with M-Pesa on payments collection. So it just shows the ecosystem is, really growing, and that means there's so many opportunities to serve. Even if you want to build tools for developers, I'm seeing a lot of tools. I think our product team, uses a lot of the tools, Atlassian, Confluence, we use Jira, we use, I think Bitbucket, all that stuff. So a lot of opportunity. Even the mic is tight. Thanks.
Just one question that was asked, but is Dagi around? Not yet. So that's Dagi is a developer, the guy that you can stand so that Tesh can see you. But then he has asked a lot of questions here, 10 of them actually. Most of them you answered while you are giving a back story. But there's one that is interesting here. So he's asking how did you decide on the advisory boards and how do you compensate them? Which I find, I don't know if that was addressed, but I'm sure when you raise that kind of fund, you have guys who serve as advisory board or just board.
Yeah, so we give our advisory board ESOP as well. So I'd advise you to look at a framework called FAST, F-A-S-T, by it's a company that has done that framework. Fast. Yeah, just Google FAST advisor agreement template. It gives you ideas on how much equity you should give your advisors based on your stage as a business and based on their expertise. But the answer is ESOP. We used ESOP for the advisors, and then the board of directors is, we just got a board after our last raise, and that was the largest investors, because what you do is sell part of your business, and the larger investors who come in as part of investing, they want a board seat because they want some involvement into the running of the company and approval of how you spend money and etc. So that's how we set up the board of directors, and they get paid because they're investors. So when you succeed, they make money.
Thank you so much, Tesh. Give it up for Tesh.